Gene Hackman and his wife died 1 week apart from natural causes. Breaking.
New details in the death investigation of actor Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman's cause of death revealed. It is tragic.
Authorities have unveiled chilling new details about the tragic end of Hollywood legend Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa.
Phipps, New Mexico State Public Health Veterinarian.
Investigators now confirm that Hackman spent an entire week living with his wife's lifeless body before taking his own life in an act that has left the industry in shock.
For a week with his wife's dead body before he also passed away.
The cause of Arakawa's sudden collapse? A rare and deadly disease reportedly transmitted by rats. A revelation that only deepens the mystery surrounding this heartbreaking case. As officials piece together the final moments of the couple's lives, new evidence is answering long-standing questions while raising even more disturbing ones. What really happened inside the Hackman residence? And what led the Oscar-winning star to his fateful decision? The full story with shocking details is unfolding now. Stay tuned. The mystery surrounding the tragic deaths of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa has taken a chilling turn. Authorities in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, have now revealed new details in a highly anticipated press conference. Standing alongside the medical examiner who conducted the autopsies, the sheriff delivered findings that have left many stunned.
On Thursday, February 27th, I performed an autopsy as a significant contributory factor.
According to the medical examiner, Betsy Arakawa passed away on February 11th from a rare and deadly illness, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. This highly infectious disease, known to be transmitted by rodents, spreads through contaminated saliva, droppings, and even airborne particles. But how did this rare virus find its way into their home? And more importantly, could it have played a role in Gene Hackman's death as well? The answers may be more unsettling than anyone expected. As investigators piece together the final days of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, the details only grow more unsettling. According to the Mayo Clinic, hantavirus pulmonary syndrome begins with flu-like symptoms before rapidly escalating into a severe and often fatal condition. What's even more alarming is just how rare this disease is. New Mexico's Department of Health reports that only 156 cases have been recorded in the state over the past 50 years.
136 infections over the past 50 years in New
Yet, the fatality rate is staggering, over 40%.
42% of these infections here in New Mexico.
But the revelations don't stop there. In a chilling new development, the medical examiner shared the heartbreaking timeline of Gene Hackman's final days. After losing his wife to the rare infection, Hackman is believed to have lived for another 7 days, alone before succumbing to what appears to be chronic heart disease, with Alzheimer's as a major contributing factor. The circumstances of his death raise even more questions. How did the legendary actor spend his last week? Authorities now believe that Gene Hackman passed away on February 18th, a slight but significant adjustment from earlier reports.
This investigation started on February.
Prior to today's press conference, the sheriff had stated that Hackman's pacemaker registered its last activity on February 17th, leading many to believe that was the day he took his final breath. But now, new findings suggest he may have lived a day longer than originally thought. What do you think about the coroner's latest conclusions? Do you believe the updated timeline of Gene Hackman's passing is accurate? Let us know, yes or no. As investigators work to piece together the timeline of his final hours, the mystery only deepens. What exactly happened in those crucial last moments? And how did the legendary actor spend his final day? In a revealing press briefing, the sheriff, the medical examiner, and other key officials shared critical insights, offering answers to some questions while leaving others even more hauntingly uncertain. The investigation into the tragic deaths of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa officially began on February 26th, when authorities made the grim discovery inside their residence. Alongside the couple, their dog was also found, raising even more questions about what had transpired in the days prior. As investigators combed through the scene, initial suspicions were ruled out. Both Hackman and Arakawa tested negative for carbon monoxide poisoning, and city fire officials conducted thorough tests, ultimately deeming the home safe for deputies to proceed with their examination. Last week, preliminary results from Hackman's pacemaker interrogation were released, hinting at a clearer timeline of events, though not without lingering uncertainties. Meanwhile, a separate inspection by the New Mexico Gas Company uncovered a minor leak in a single kitchen stove burner. But at just 0.33% of room air, experts deemed it too insignificant to have played a role in their deaths. So, if it wasn't carbon monoxide and the gas leak wasn't a factor, what exactly led to the couple's tragic fate? As the findings continue to unfold, the truth behind their final days remains as chilling as ever. As investigators continue to unravel the timeline of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's final days, new details have emerged, some clarifying the sequence of events while others deepen the mystery. Authorities have now confirmed that the couple's dog, Xena, was taken for a necropsy at the Veterinary Diagnostic Services.
That on February 9th, 2025, she picked up Xena from Gruta Veterinary Hospital.
The results, still pending, could provide critical clues about the circumstances inside the home. Interestingly, investigators noted that on February 9th, 2025, Betsy Arakawa had picked up Xena from Gruta Veterinary Hospital after a medical procedure, possibly explaining why the dog was found in a crate at the residence. But it's the timeline of February 11th that raises more unsettling questions. That morning, at exactly 11:21 a.m., Arakawa exchanged emails with her massage therapist. Later that afternoon, she was seen running errands around Santa Fe, first at Sprouts Farmers Market between 3:30 and 4:15 p.m., then at a CVS pharmacy from 4:12 to 4:20 p.m. Surveillance footage also captured her at a local pet food store at 4:54 p.m. Finally, at 5:15 p.m., her car was recorded entering their gated community, with the remote clicker assigned to her vehicle being used for access.
11th, 2025.
What happened next remains a mystery. On her computer, numerous emails from February 11th were left unopened. No further outgoing messages, no known calls, and no additional activity. That date marks the last digital trace of Betsy Arakawa. Investigators are now working with state police to retrieve crucial cell phone data, hoping to uncover what happened in the final moments before everything went silent. What caused the sudden and eerie stop in communication? And what, if anything, could those missing phone records reveal? The investigation is far from over. It is highly unusual for the Office of the Medical Investigator to release public statements regarding ongoing death investigations. However, given the circumstances surrounding these two tragic deaths, it is crucial to provide accurate and transparent information. Prior to this press conference, they have spoken with the Hackman family, who have been informed of the autopsy findings and the conclusions drawn from the investigation. They are fully aware of the details that will be shared today. Hantavirus is a rare but deadly virus primarily spread through exposure to the droppings, urine, or saliva of infected rodents. In particular, a specific mouse species carries the virus, posing a serious health risk to humans. Infection can lead to severe symptoms, beginning with vomiting and diarrhea, which may rapidly progress to breathing difficulties, heart failure, and lung failure. These life-threatening complications typically develop within 1 to 8 weeks of exposure. The hantavirus strain found in the southwestern United States has a mortality rate of 38% to 50%. However, unlike some other infectious diseases, hantavirus strains in the U.S. do not spread from person to person. The question was whether Mr. Hackman was capable of living alone and taking care of himself. Medical findings indicate he was in an advanced stage of Alzheimer's disease. While his exact level of daily functioning is unclear, he was in extremely poor health, suffering from severe heart disease. In the end, it was his heart condition that ultimately caused his death, with Alzheimer's as a contributing factor. Regarding dehydration, tests showed no evidence of it, though his kidneys were in a severely weakened state. When asked about starvation, the findings revealed that his stomach was empty, meaning he hadn't eaten recently. However, since there were no signs of dehydration, starvation was unlikely to be a direct cause of death. As for whether Mr. Hackman was aware of his wife's passing, that remains uncertain. Given the advanced progression of his Alzheimer's, it is very possible he did not realize she had died or was unable to comprehend the situation. When considering the circumstances in which he was found, lying in the mudroom with his walking cane and sunglasses nearby, there is no clear answer as to whether he was trying to seek help for his wife. His state of mind at the time is nearly impossible to determine, and the true answer to that question may never be known. Finally, when asked if there were any remaining uncertainties, the sheriff acknowledged that while the biggest questions had been addressed, there may still be aspects of the case that warrant further investigation. Do you think there are still unanswered questions in this case? Let us know, yes or no. Authorities have provided further insight into the tragic deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa. One major question was whether Mr. Hackman had any communication or activity after February 11th. Investigators have found no indication that he used a phone, email, or any other form of technology during that period. There is no evidence of contact with friends or acquaintances, leaving his final days largely unaccounted for. Regarding his pacemaker, one of his physicians confirmed that data was available from February 17th, but a full analysis would require a detailed interrogation of the device. While pacemaker readings can sometimes provide critical medical insights, it remains unclear whether they will yield any new information about Hackman's final moments. For over a week after Betsy Hackman's death on February 11th, there is no evidence that Gene Hackman communicated with anyone. Authorities have found no phone calls, emails, or other forms of activity from the legendary actor. The question of whether he was aware of his wife's passing remains unanswered, though given his advanced Alzheimer's disease, it is entirely possible that he was either unaware or unable to comprehend what had happened. Adding to the mystery, Hackman's pacemaker recorded his last heart activity on February 18th, suggesting he likely passed away on that day. However, the sheriff's office has confirmed that it is unclear whether his pacemaker was actively monitored, meaning there was no immediate alert when his condition deteriorated. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of this case is how Mr. Hackman was found, collapsed in the mudroom of their secluded Santa Fe mansion, his walking cane and sunglasses nearby. Was he trying to leave the house? Was he attempting to get help? Or was this simply where his final moments took place? With no security cameras inside or outside the residence, the true circumstances may never be known. As for Betsy Hackman, her last known activity was running errands in Santa Fe on February 11th. Surveillance footage shows her moving normally, no visible signs of respiratory distress, no indication of what was to come. That evening, she returned home, and somewhere within the walls of their multi-million-dollar estate, she succumbed to the illness. Authorities believe she likely collapsed suddenly, as hantavirus can progress rapidly once fluid builds up in the lungs. But exactly when she died remains uncertain. Investigators suspect she did not survive long after returning home. The silence surrounding the couple's final days is perhaps the most chilling element of all. Hackman's 3 adult children do not live in New Mexico and were not in frequent contact with their father. Likewise, Betsy hadn't spoken to her mother in months, and no close friends or family members noticed their absence. In the end, it wasn't until February 26th, more than a week after Hackman's estimated time of death, that a maintenance worker arrived at the home and made the tragic discovery. And then there's the dog. Authorities have confirmed that the couple's pet, Xena, was found deceased inside a closet. The sheriff's office is awaiting results from a necropsy, but given the timeline, dehydration or starvation remains a possibility. However, officials have ruled out hantavirus. Dogs do not contract the disease. While the major pieces of this puzzle appear to be falling into place, the case remains open. Investigators are still analyzing cell phone data, reviewing evidence, and seeking answers to lingering questions. Did Betsy Hackman tell anyone she was feeling sick before she died? Did Gene Hackman attempt to seek help in his final hours? Why did no one notice their absence for so long? For now, the truth of what really happened behind the doors of their secluded mansion may never be fully known. What Gene Hackman's daughter just revealed about Gene Hackman will leave you shocked.
We're looking at video of one of the last times Oscar winner details this hour about
Gene Hackman has died at the age of 95.
Difficult to put a timeline together, even with the help of the Office of the Medical.
You're watching footage from one of the final moments of Oscar-winning actor Jay. This hour, new details emerge about the unsettling circumstances of his passing. His front door left ajar, prescription pills scattered across the bathroom counter, and, in a haunting discovery, one of his dogs found lifeless in the closet. The tragic news of Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, being found deceased in their Santa Fe, New Mexico, home has sent shockwaves through the world. Yet, what truly unsettled the public was the reaction of one of Gene's 3 children, Leslie Hackman, his daughter from his first marriage. Her cryptic remarks have only deepened the mystery, fueling speculation about what really transpired in the secluded home of one of Hollywood's most revered icons. What was Gene Hackman's final secret? And why, after years of silence, is his family speaking out now? Stay with us as we unravel the chilling truth.
Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Mr. Hackman and Miss Arakawa.
On February 26, 2025, a chilling discovery was made at the Santa Fe, New Mexico residence of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa. The couple, along with one of their 3 cherished dogs, was found lifeless inside their home, marking a sorrowful end to Hackman's extraordinary life at the age of 95. The grim scene was uncovered by a maintenance worker who, upon arriving at the residence, was met with an eerie silence. After entering, they stumbled upon the bodies and immediately alerted emergency services. Deputies from the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office arrived shortly after, launching an investigation into the tragic event. Authorities later revealed that the workers' last known contact with the couple had been nearly 2 weeks prior, deepening the mystery of how long they had been deceased. Hackman's body was found in the mudroom, while Arakawa was discovered in a bathroom nearby, both in an advanced state of decomposition. Scattered around them were prescription medications for high blood pressure and thyroid conditions, raising further questions. Among the heartbreaking discoveries was the fate of one of their dogs, a German Shepherd, found lifeless in a closet near Arakawa. However, in a small glimmer of relief, their 2 other dogs were found alive on the property. Investigators noted that Hackman appeared to have collapsed suddenly, and similar indications suggested Arakawa may have suffered the same fate. Early assessments suggested they may have been deceased for several days, possibly up to 2 weeks before their bodies were found. In an effort to rule out external factors, fire department officials inspected the home and found no signs of carbon monoxide leaks. As the inquiry deepened, authorities confirmed on February 27th that there were no immediate signs of foul play, but the precise cause and timing of death remained uncertain. Autopsy results showed no external trauma, and as investigators worked to reconstruct the final days of the couple's lives, a startling revelation emerged. Data retrieved from Hackman's pacemaker indicated that the actor had likely passed away on February 17th, nearly 2 weeks before the discovery of his body.
There was no carbon monoxide, and he had the most common cause of death in this country.
With many questions still unanswered, the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department continues to piece together the details of this unsettling tragedy.
Question that we want answered. That's a very hard determination to make.
What led to the deaths of Hackman and Arakawa remains unclear, leaving behind an air of mystery surrounding the final chapter of the Hollywood icon's life. Do you think the death of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa was of natural causes? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. As investigators work to piece together the final days of the Hollywood legend and his wife, Santa Fe County Sheriff Mar Rodriguez assured the public of a thorough inquiry.
Get everything right. We have photographs. We've documented everything that was.
We are conducting a comprehensive investigation into the deaths of Mr. Hackman and Ms. Arakawa, he told reporters. We understand the public interest, given Mr. Hackman's stature, but our focus remains on the evidence, and we will follow it wherever it leads. Hackman was married to his first wife, Faye Maltese, for 3 decades, from 1956 until their divorce in 1986. Together, they had 3 children, son Christopher and daughters Elizabeth and Leslie. 5 years after the end of his first marriage, 1991, Hackman found love again, marrying Betsy Arakawa, with whom he remained until his passing. Maltese later passed away in 2017, In addition to Elizabeth, Gene Hackman is survived by his eldest son Christopher and his younger daughter Leslie. He and Betsy Arakawa did not have any children together. Hackman kept his personal life largely private, rarely speaking about his children or family dynamics. In a 1989 interview with film critic John C. Tibbets, he reflected on the connection audiences felt with him, attributing it to his everyman appeal. "I like to keep my personal life fairly common," he explained, "so that in my art, one can let go and one can soar." His approach to fame was one of deliberate restraint, allowing his work, not his personal affairs, to define his legacy. Their youngest daughter, Leslie Ann Hackman, now 58, recently revealed that she had spoken to her father and stepmother just months before the tragic discovery of their bodies on February 26th. Authorities later determined they had been deceased for several days, possibly even weeks. Though Leslie resides in California, hundreds of miles from the couple's lavish Santa Fe estate, she insisted that she and her father had remained deeply connected despite the physical distance. Hackman and Maltese welcomed their youngest child, Leslie Ann Hackman, in October 1966. Like her older siblings, little is publicly known about her life, as the Hackman children have largely remained out of the spotlight. However, glimpses of her relationship with her father surfaced over the years, particularly in moments tied to his work. In a 1984 interview with journalist Bobby Wagenspeak, Hackman reflected on his role in Misunderstood and how it resonated with him as both a father and a son who had experienced a strained relationship with his own father. "They're almost exclusively with me to my children in terms of how I worked on it," he explained, touching on the themes of miscommunication between parents and children. He revealed that Leslie had seen the film and was deeply moved by it, not because of his involvement, but for its storytelling. "She liked it as a film, and she recommended it to her girlfriends," he noted, hopeful that his older children would have a similar reaction. Despite Hackman's guarded approach to his personal life, Leslie was occasionally seen alongside him at major Hollywood events. In January 1984, she accompanied her father to the 41st Annual Golden Globe Awards. Later, they attended the December 1990 premiere of The Godfather Part 3 and the March 1991 premiere of Class Action, offering rare public appearances that hinted at the bond they shared. Leslie Ann Hackman also shared with the Daily Mail that at 95, her father remained in remarkable physical condition, regularly practicing yoga and Pilates multiple times a week. To her knowledge, he was in good health and had not undergone any major medical procedures in recent months. She spoke warmly of Gene and Betsy's marriage, describing it as wonderful, and crediting her 63-year-old stepmother for, as she put it, keeping him alive. Her words painted a picture of a devoted partnership, making the circumstances of their passing all the more heartbreaking. Hackman's longtime friend, Doug Lanham, reinforced this sentiment, telling TMZ that Betsy played a crucial role in maintaining Gene's health.
And he said, he just kind of gave you that...
She kept him on a strict diet, carefully overseeing his meals and encouraging healthier choices like halibut or rice paper salmon. However, according to Lanham, the legendary actor would occasionally try to indulge in a cheap meal whenever he hung out with Doug. Concerns over his heart health had already influenced a major decision in his life, ultimately leading him to retire from Hollywood in 2004 at the age of 74, stepping away from the spotlight to prioritize his well-being. Now, the Hackman family is grappling with profound grief while awaiting official reports on the cause of death. Initially, Leslie and her older sister, Elizabeth Jean Hackman, speculated that carbon monoxide poisoning may have been responsible. However, authorities found no immediate evidence of a leak, and the local gas company has launched an investigation. The results of Hackman and Betsy's autopsies, along with toxicology reports, remain pending. Let's take a moment to honor their memory. Comment RIP Jean to send your prayers and condolences. Elizabeth Jean Hackman, the daughter of the legendary actor Gene Hackman, and his first wife, Faye Maltese, has spent her life away from the public eye, shunning the glare of Hollywood. Born in August 1962, she is the middle child between her older brother Christopher Allen Hackman and younger sister Leslie Jean Hackman. Despite being part of a family tied to cinematic greatness, Elizabeth has deliberately chosen a life of privacy, rarely stepping into the limelight. According to the New York Post, Gene Hackman and Faye Maltese's marriage was a significant chapter in both their lives, before ending in divorce years before Maltese's passing in 2017, as reported by The Independent. While Elizabeth has long avoided public attention, she was occasionally seen alongside her father during her younger years. One of her rare appearances was at the 1978 screening of Superman, where Gene Hackman mesmerized audiences as the infamous Lex Luthor. Another fleeting glimpse came in 1996 at the premiere of The Chamber, a film in which he played a pivotal role. Beyond these brief moments, Elizabeth has remained an enigma, retreating into a world far removed from the spectacle of Hollywood. Little is known about Elizabeth's personal life, as she, along with her siblings, has maintained an extraordinary level of privacy. Unlike many children of famous figures who embrace the digital age, none of Gene Hackman's children engage publicly on social media or make headlines. Whether Elizabeth or her siblings have married or pursued public endeavors remains a mystery, adding to the intrigue surrounding their lives. Their decision to remain in the shadows has only deepened the air of secrecy, leaving the public with little more than fleeting glimpses into their world, an existence far from the grandeur of their father's cinematic legacy. Despite her preference for privacy, Elizabeth appeared at several public events with her father. As children, she and her younger sister Leslie were once photographed sitting on Hackman's lap at a celebrity baseball game where he sported a Los Angeles Dodgers jersey. As she grew older, she attended notable Hollywood events, including the December 1978 screening of Superman at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., where her father famously portrayed the villain Lex Luthor. Years later, in October 1996, Elizabeth was photographed at the Beverly Hills premiere of The Chamber, standing alongside her sister Leslie and stepmother Betsy Arakawa. Following Hackman's passing, Elizabeth spoke to TMZ, revealing that the family initially suspected toxic fumes, such as carbon monoxide, may have played a role in the tragic deaths of her father and stepmother. However, with no immediate evidence of a leak, investigators continue to search for definitive answers. The police report revealed a haunting scene inside the Hackman residence. Officers arrived to find the front door unsecured and ajar, offering the first sign that something was amiss. Inside, an orange pill bottle lay on the floor, its contents spilled across the room, while the couple's 2 surviving dogs roamed freely through the house. The most chilling detail came in the description of Betsy's body. Found in an advanced state of decomposition, mummified and bloated, a stark indication of just how much time had passed before their tragic discovery. In a February 27th press release, the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office confirmed that there were no immediate signs of foul play, forced entry, or theft at the Hackman residence. Authorities also reported no visible external trauma to either Gene or Betsy, leaving the cause of their deaths a lingering mystery. Following his passing, Elizabeth, Leslie, and Hackman's granddaughter, Annie, issued a statement to the New York Post. "It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of our father, Gene Hackman, and his wife, Betsy. He was loved and admired by millions around the world for his brilliant acting career, but to us, he was always just Dad and Grandpa. We will miss him sorely and are devastated by the loss." However, as of now, Leslie has yet to set foot in New Mexico, firmly stating that she would not do so until the police investigation was complete. Instead, on February 27th, just a day after receiving the devastating news of her father and stepmother's passing, she was seen dining with her sister at a Denny's in Burbank, California. According to the Daily Mail, the two appeared composed, even cheerful, raising questions about the depth of their grief. While authorities continue their probe, which could take months, many would expect a devoted daughter to immediately fly out, visit the scene, and oversee funeral arrangements. Yet, Leslie chose a different path. Hackman's grandson, Tim Hackman, also spoke out, shedding light on the fractured ties within the family. He revealed that Leslie was the only one who maintained any form of contact with Gene Hackman in his later years. But even then, their conversations were sporadic, occurring only once every few months. As for Tim himself, the last time he saw his grandfather was over a decade ago at his own father's funeral. In the end, Gene Hackman spent his final years in near total solitude. Whether by choice or by circumstance remains a haunting mystery. And then, the controversy deepened. Rather than quietly mourning, Leslie sold an exclusive story to the Daily Mail, a tabloid infamous for paying sources to exploit sensational news. The public couldn't help but question her motives. Was she truly devastated by her father's passing? Or was she seizing an opportunity to thrust herself into the spotlight? Would a daughter consumed by grief really be negotiating a media deal as the world was just learning of her father's death? The lingering question remains. Was her sorrow genuine, or was it merely another transaction? While Hackman appeared to have maintained a connection with his daughters, there has been no public statement from his son. Their relationship had been strained for decades, with an apparent rift dating back to the dissolution of Hackman's first marriage in the 1980s, a distance that seemed to persist until the very end. Christopher Allen Hackman, now 65, was born in 1960. Despite his father's towering presence in Hollywood, Christopher remained largely out of the public eye. However, in rare interviews, Gene Hackman offered glimpses into their relationship, revealing a deeply personal side often unseen by the cameras. In a candid 1984 interview with journalist Lita Poe Drake, when asked if there was ever a moment when he replaced hugs with handshakes as his son grew older, Hackman responded with unwavering certainty. "No, we still hug to this day, and I thank God that we are able to do that." He went on to express his belief in the power of a father's embrace, saying, "I don't think we'll ever reach a point where we have to shake hands." That was a real stretch for me in the film. One of the coldest things a person can do is to be unaware, or worse, indifferent, to a child's need to feel the warmth and protection of a father's arms. Years later, in a 2011 interview with GQ, Hackman reflected on the challenges of balancing his demanding career with fatherhood. When asked if he had ever passed down advice to his son, he admitted, "I lost touch with my son in terms of advice early on." He acknowledged the difficulties of being away on extended film shoots, saying, "Maybe it had to do with being gone so much, filming on location when he was at an age where he needed support and guidance. It was tough to be away for 3 months and then come home and suddenly start telling him what to do." Despite the distance, their bond found unexpected creative intersections. In a 2020 Empire interview, Hackman reflected on his transition from acting to writing and shared a personal anecdote about Christopher's brief interest in acting. "At one point, my son thought he wanted to be an actor and was living in New York," he recalled. "I wrote him a couple of little monologues. I guess that's where I really started. I enjoyed it. Ideas would just pop into my head, and I would write them down." Though Christopher Hackman never pursued a career in the limelight, his father's reflections over the decades painted a picture of a complex, deeply felt relationship. One shaped by love, distance, and the ever-evolving journey of fatherhood. Did you know about Christopher Hackman, the son of Gene Hackman? Comment yes if you've heard about him, or no if this is your first time learning about him. In an era where the children of Hollywood icons often embrace the limelight, the Hackman family stands apart. Elizabeth Hackman and her siblings have deliberately chosen a life away from the public eye, valuing privacy over the allure of fame. Their quiet existence mirrors their father's own retreat from Hollywood after a storied career that left an indelible mark on the industry. While Gene Hackman's legacy is cemented in cinematic history, his children have carved their own paths in a far more understated manner. Proof that the weight of a legendary surname does not dictate one's destiny in the spotlight. Gene Hackman's path to Hollywood greatness, on the other hand, was anything but ordinary. His journey began in 1956 when he took a leap of faith and enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse in California, determined to pursue acting. It was there that he met fellow aspiring actor Dustin Hoffman. Both men were seen as outsiders, dismissed by their classmates, and even voted least likely to succeed. Hackman, in particular, received the lowest score the school had ever given, a humiliating setback that might have crushed a lesser man. But rather than surrendering to doubt, he turned the rejection into fuel, determined to prove everyone wrong. With unwavering resolve, Hackman left California and moved to New York City, where he endured years of struggle, working odd jobs just to make ends meet. He formed deep friendships with Hoffman and Robert Duvall, sharing cramped apartments as they all fought for their break in the industry. His perseverance paid off in 1970 with I Never Sang for My Father, earning him an Academy Award nomination. But it was his gripping portrayal of the relentless detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, 1971, that catapulted him into stardom. The role won him the Academy Award for Best Actor, solidifying his place among Hollywood's elite. From that moment on, Hackman was unstoppable. The 1970s saw him star in a string of critically acclaimed films, including The Poseidon Adventure and Scarecrow, the latter of which won the prestigious Palme d'Or at Cannes. He collaborated with legendary director Francis Ford Coppola in The Conversation, 1974, and surprised audiences with his comedic talents in Young Frankenstein the same year. By the mid-1980s, Hackman had cemented himself as one of the most sought-after actors in Hollywood, delivering standout performances in Hoosiers, 1986, regarded as one of the greatest sports films of all time. Even as he entered the 2000s, Hackman showed no signs of slowing down. He worked alongside Hollywood heavyweights like Morgan Freeman in Under Suspicion, Keanu Reeves in The Replacements, and Owen Wilson in Behind Enemy Lines. But one of his most unforgettable roles came in The Royal Tenenbaums, 2001, where he portrayed the eccentric patriarch of a dysfunctional family, a performance that earned him a Golden Globe for Best Actor. Once again, he proved his unmatched ability to bring depth and nuance to every character he embodied. However, by 2004, Hackman made the decision to step away from acting. His final film, Welcome to Mooseport, was a lighthearted comedy that stood in contrast to the intensity of his earlier work. Fans held on to hope for a return, but in a 2008 interview, Hackman confirmed his retirement, citing health concerns as a significant factor. Doctors had warned him about the strain acting placed on his heart, prompting him to leave Hollywood behind. Yet, retirement did not mean slowing down. Hackman redirected his creative energy into writing, publishing several novels. Though he stepped away from the screen, he briefly returned to narrate 2 Marine Corps documentaries in 2016 and 2017. Gene Hackman was not just another Hollywood icon. He was a man forged by hardship, defined by resilience, and ultimately left to wrestle with the weight of his own solitude. He built a career on grit and defiance, never yielding to failure, never allowing the world to see him broken. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate, he left this world in silence. After his departure from Hollywood in 2004, Hackman chose a life far removed from the glare of cameras and the deafening applause of an industry he once ruled. In Santa Fe, New Mexico, he and his wife Betsy lived simply, away from the clamor of fame. No red carpets, no flashing bulbs, just the quiet existence of a man who had spent decades in the spotlight, now seeking something more elusive than success: peace. But was it truly peace he found? His last known public appearance was in 2023, dining with Betsy at a local restaurant. The images captured an aging man, frail yet still exuding the quiet strength of a battle-worn warrior. The years had worn him down, but they had not erased the essence of the fighter within him. And yet, in his final moments, there were no children gathered around his bedside, no whispered farewells from loved ones. He slipped away unnoticed. The people who once mattered either lost to time or pushed away by his own hands. Gene Hackman's passing was more than the end of a Hollywood legend. It was a stark testament to the loneliness of a man who had endured too much, lost too often, and in the end, faced the ultimate question. Was it fate that abandoned him, or had he chosen this solitude himself? In the end, Gene Hackman's legacy is one of brilliance, mystery, and deep personal struggles. His daughter's revelations have given us a rare glimpse into the man behind the Hollywood legend. A father, a husband, and a figure shaped by both triumph and heartache. As the world reflects on his life and the secrets that remained hidden for so long, one thing is certain. Gene Hackman's impact on cinema, and on those who knew him best, will never fade. What do you think about these shocking revelations? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.
Well, a little smile.